G'day, mate. What's your name?
I'm Lauren Bonner.
And what do you do, Lauren Bonner?
Not a whole lot, but comedian, I guess, if I had to say.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crowd Workcast. My name's Andrew Barnett. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, before we chat about today's episode, I do need to do some promoting because I'm bringing my my show How Good back to Brisbane, to Newcastle and Sydney. So, Brisbane, if you're in that area, I'll be at the Sit Down Comedy Club on Saturday, October 7. I'd love to see you along there. Newcastle, that will be Sunday, October 22 at the Newcastle Comedy Club. And Sydney, I will be very excited at the Sydney Comedy Store Friday, November 3. You can find ticket details at alist.com.au or in the bio of my Instagram, all that sort of good stuff. So give us a like and a follow, please. And I'd love to see you at any of those shows. Now, today's episode, my guest, Lauren Bonner. This was a real fun chat. I've got a lot of time for Lauren. She's a really interesting and good comedian, but also just an interesting person to chat to whenever you're backstage in a green room, which is really important if you're going to be gigging lots together. This was a good chat. I learned some stuff about her that I didn't know. She's got some big news coming up that she's going to come back to promote when she can. She's part of a series. She's acting in a series called While You Were Breeding, which is quite a big deal. But I don't know if she's technically allowed to promote it or anything yet because of writers' strikes, etc. But give her a follow on Instagram. She is Lauren Y. Bonner. Just plenty of content there, and find out where she is and what she's up to. Also, you can listen to her podcast that she does with Conchetta Caristo. It's called Big Natural Talents. So give that a listen. But yeah, for now, just enjoy this. This is my chat with Lauren Bonner. I love that uncomfortableness that if I had to say, if I had to say, but then also you have to sell tickets to festival shows and stuff. It's the great it's almost like a paradox with a lot of comedians where you don't want to have to say if questioned, but then also you don't you want to be out. You more just want people to know so they buy a ticket and come along. You don't want to have to tell everyone.
Yeah, you just want everyone to kind of already know who you are and that they need to buy the ticket, but you don't want to have to tell them, but you do. So it's a catch-22. But it's also, I guess, it's like context. Like, do you lie ever? Like if like cab drivers and hairdressers ask you what you do, just because it can be so. I've been saying like, oh, I freelance because as well right now I'm not working, and if I'm making like a physio appointment in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, or they're like, when are you available? And I'm like, anytime. Then they ask, they're like, oh, you're working today? Then I've got to be like, yeah.
That's where I'll often throw a bit of, working from home, mate, you know what it's like.
Yeah, I say
Sneak
that
out,
too.
which is true because I do work from home.
Yeah.
I just work for myself.
Yeah.
And I can pretty much go whenever I want.
You can do whatever.
Yeah, because I'm a grown-up. You can't tell me what to do anymore.
Yeah, you don't even have to work when you're working from home sometimes.
Yeah, I know, but then at a certain point you're like, oh man, this has to make some money.
Yeah, it is at a certain point.
Oh, so you're like you're doing comedy full time now though.
For the moment. I mean, like it's always a bit on and off. I think I don't know. I was trying to. The problem is like when you do it full time for long enough, then you just don't ever want to go back to getting a job. Yeah. And then also like the nature of things makes it hard because I'm such a flake with any job because I'm free all the time for I'm like, oh, okay, I've got nothing on like this week all day every day I could do something, and then you never know, like the next minute then it's like, oh, do you want to go down the South Coast for 3 days and do these gigs? And like if I had a job I couldn't do that. So,
it's sometimes it's
rough.
It's about being available for the work
that
will come even if there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
It's sort of trusting. I go through about 2 or 3 times a year, I go through a thing where I look at my diary and go, oh man, I need to book some stuff up. This is, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And then every time what happens is something will happen, or my wife will bump into someone and say, oh, they want to come catch up. When have you got a Saturday off next? And she'll look in the calendar. She goes, you haven't got a Saturday off for the next 4 months. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's always the way. Or as soon as I think oh, okay, well, how about I go on a holiday or something? If I'm not doing anything anyway, may as well properly have time off rather than just kind of half have time off.
Yep.
And then I look in my thing and it's no, I've got to go to Wollongong inexplicably every week for the next month or something. And it's always I don't know. Maybe if I went to Wollongong for fun, it would be nice. But I go to Wollongong all the time, it's fine. But I'm not going to the beach.
Big listenership in the Gong.
Oh, no. I like it there, but you know what I mean? It's you got to drive down that road, and it was closed one time, which was crazy for me. It's interesting stuff.
This is the first time anyone's really just had a go at Wollongong.
Yeah.
But
probably not ever.
No, I'm sure plenty of people
on this pod.
Yeah, on this particular podcast, in relation to their main beef with comedy being Wollongong.
It's not even a bad spot for gigs, actually. The people down there are really nice. I think it's a nice crowd.
Yeah, it is. It's fun gigging. Yeah. But I suppose I love going down there, but that's because the side of Sydney I live on, it's super convenient.
That's fine for you. Yeah. That's why you're so defensive.
No, I'm not defensive of Wollongong. But hey, I'll be down there. I think I can't remember when I'm going down there.
Oh, yeah?
Check my Instagram; it'll have the dates.
Yeah, and grab some tickets, guys.
Oh man, how is that? That's the bit that I didn't realize. I think when I first started comedy, is it's actually a lot of it's about you've got to be a salesperson, you've got to be a marketer, you've got to be all these other things other than just funny. You had I don't know why. I just had this fantasy in my head that it'd be enough just to be funny, and then someone else would look after all that other stuff, and it's just not reality.
It never happens. You can have, to a point, if you have management and things like that, hypothetically they help with things, but you got to do so much stuff, and because exactly, it's you can't just be funny, because if you're just funny, especially live comedy, that's why people are posting clips on Instagram now all the time. I get stressed that I'm not posting enough stuff, because if you just have a great gig, sometimes it feels a bit you leave the room and then it's if a tree fell in the woods and no one was there to hear it, who knows? What do you, okay, these 50 people think that I'm really good, but they won't remember.
That's kind of the charm of it. That was the bit, the romance of it that appealed to me when I first started. Because when I first started, I started late 2009, started 2010, and there wasn't heaps of clips up. It wasn't a thing to do that. I suppose Twitter was getting around a bit. I remember when people first started blowing up on tweeting jokes, and I tried to do that a bit, and it never really worked because it didn't really suit my thing. Or you'd come up with something you thought was genius, great, I've solved it. This is a perfect one-liner. You'd put it on Twitter and it'd get nothing. No one would see it.
That's the thing. It's so, the internet, I don't know, everything is, it's the same with stand-up. You think you've got a really good bit and then no one laughs, or you do the really good bit to 10 different crowds and sometimes they laugh, sometimes they don't. But Twitter, I don't know, because I've had a few tweets that went crazy and you don't get anything as well. That's the thing. You think, oh, if I go viral on Twitter, whoa, it's all going to happen for me. I had a tweet that got hundreds of thousands of likes, and it still pops up every now and then. It got
really? What was this tweet?
I'll tell you, and it'll be oh, it's just BuzzFeed posted it. Everyone's resharing it, and brands would put it on a graphic and stuff. I didn't get any money for any of that. I remember a clothing brand posted it. They put it on a graphic and they posted it on their Facebook. And then I messaged them and I was like, hey, can I have a gift voucher for your store or something? Because you posted my words and they didn't credit me as well. And then they offered me a 10% discount code. I was like, what's the point? Anyway, the tweet was, at the shops, I mustn't buy a little chocolate treat. And then at home, I wish I had a little chocolate treat.
That's good.
That's it.
That sums up how people it's
relatable.
A universal feeling. No. Oh man,
But it doesn't change your life. And I'm speaking from experience, just so you know, so you can feel safe in that. If
Yeah,
you ever,
I gave up on Twitter when it became a cesspool of just arguing. Like I don't know. I got like real life humans to argue with at home. You know?
And you realize
not that I even argue with the humans I live with.
You don't seem like an argumentative type.
I can be, but I'm not.
Now you're arguing with me.
Yeah. Hey, I'll have you know.
Actually.
No, I'm not over. I run out of energy for conflict pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think me too. Wonder if it's a comedian thing. No, there's some real stubborn assholes.
There's some people that it fuels, I think.
Yeah, I think you've got to, because I've got some friends. You've probably people. I've got friends that have to be right. They have to be, and there's a point where you just go, let them.
My new favourite thing to say, and I've said this to my son, and I've said it to my people in my life, is I've realised that sometimes you can be right or you can be happy, and that it's that choice. And in that situation, I will choose happy. Yeah, because I don't have the energy to be upset all the time. I just can't. Yeah, do it.
Or like I'm already upset all the time anyway. So like I can't spend any more upset.
So how long have you been doing comedy?
Oh God, I was trying to work it out because I got, Facebook memories is really the only way that I know how long I've been doing anything in the whole world. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh wow, that was 7 years ago.
Let you in on a secret. I do not look at Facebook. Ever.
I hypothetically don't. I never post there, but it's still kind of in the round.
See, I'm the opposite. I post stuff on my page, videos and stuff, like clips and whatever I need, do the right thing, because I think too.
That's the best. You're doing the thing that we should all, I always am I should just post and not look. Instead I'm looking and not posting.
Yeah. Well, that's how I used to be. Because I remember years ago when I was trying to you're trying to get everything going, and I remember I'd get real busy and I'd gig, and the kids were little, and I remember just so many Friday nights, them and my wife were all they're set with pizza ready to watch a movie, and I'd be having to go to a gig, which I loved gigging, but I'd always go, oh man. So then I'd consciously take a Friday or a Saturday off so I could do that, and I'd be like, all right, we're having family movie night, we're getting pizza, make a big deal. But then I'd pick up my phone and look at Facebook and see people posting from gigs, and I'd be like, oh man, I should be working. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I just found, because of that, I was never really happy wherever I was. So I just went, okay, I'm not going to look at it anymore. And it's funny because there is stuff like Julia Wilson is friends with, I'm friends with her on Facebook, but she's also friends with my wife on Facebook. And so often Nat will say something to me like, oh, did you see what happened with Julia? I went, no idea. And she'd be like, oh, such and such happened, give her a call. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's so cool that you're I realized this thing wasn't making me happy, and so I stopped doing it. That is the thing, isn't it? But have I ever done that? No.
But I think part of that was, and that
wisdom, help me.
No, that was a realization. I think I came to that realization partly because the thing that was making me most happy at the time was having those nights with the kids and with the family, doing family movie night, because they'd hit an age where the movies we'd watch were a bit more fun. We were showing them movies from when we were kids.
That would be the ideal, because you'd be with kids, you'd be stuck in the trenches for so long with whatever. I want to say Bluey, but people get really defensive of Bluey. People love Bluey for some reason. I don't know if your kids are too old.
My kids, I miss the Bluey thing. Bluey came around when they were already too old. But yes, I know that my friends with younger kids will defend Bluey until the end.
It's crazy. I had a job once. So this is, in show business, you have to have all sorts of random little jobs.
Yep.
And one of the jobs that I did once was when someone is in a mascot costume or a big Bluey costume, for instance.
Yes.
They kind of can't see very well a lot of the time, and they need to be guided around an event by someone. And also with the Bluey costume specifically, they can only wear it for 30 minutes at a time, and then it needs to be taken off, and they need like a 15-minute break, like legally, with like, because it's a very weight. The weight of it. So I have spent some time being Bluey's assistant, essentially, at events. So I've been to like a lot of Bluey events.
So you know Bluey?
Well, I do. I know Bluey personally.
Wow.
And Bingo, I've also met. But I never watched the show. But people love it. There were these people who would come to the events like with their kids. But one of the mums at the event, like she had a Bluey tattoo. There's a woman in the world with a Bluey tattoo like on her arm, and she had Bluey earrings. She loves it. That's too far, no matter what.
Yeah. Pop culture, like, because there will be a point where you have teenagers, and they're the teenagers whose mum has a Bluey tattoo. Do you know what I mean? Like
maybe she'll like jump on board with whatever her kids are doing at any stage of life, though.
Yeah, can't imagine. You know? I mean, my mum had a Round the Twist tattoo.
Yeah, of course. my mum had a Little Mermaid tramp stamp or whatever. But like, what's she gonna do on the other forearm? Like in future, she gets like a Dua Lipa or something. I don't know.
Yeah, wow, that's. So how old are you, by the way?
I
know you're not supposed to ask, but this is my new thing. I'm like, you know what? One, you're much younger than me, so I feel like it's not an offensive thing to ask.
Yeah.
But two, it occurred to me that you never ask a lady her age is a really convenient way for guys who want to sleep with teenagers to plead ignorance.
Absolutely is.
Like I don't know if she's 18. I'm a gentleman. I didn't ask.
It's so crazy. I feel like you can be like, you'd never ask a lady her age, but only when you like assume she's like over 50. Yeah. Maybe there's like. I'm 29.
29.
But I feel like I don't know. I feel like I should start. There's so many different things. It's like, of course, it shouldn't matter how old you are, but I'm also like, maybe I should just say I'm 27, and who would argue with that? You know, I get asked for ID sometimes, like.
Yeah, see, I'm a bit different in that I'm 42 and I've looked vaguely 40 since I was about 16. So
that's good. Well, I've looked, I think, 20 since I was about 12. So I've just been the same.
Good age to finish, like to land on though, if you're going to look the same age for most of your life.
I think I look older than 20 now. That's not what I meant. I just meant I was a tall 12-year-old.
You could have told me anywhere between 20 and 30 basically, and I would have gone, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Well, yeah, you can't argue with it.
Yeah. You look vaguely 20. Which is
thank you.
So how many? So you've started comedy?
Yeah, I started comedy. I think I was about 22, or 21 or 22.
So young.
Yeah, I think around 7 years or so, 6 or 7 years, 7 or 8 years probably coming up.
See, this is because you're someone who I remember. I don't remember you like as a new comic. I just remember you being reasonably established and good. Like, you were one of those people I met and you'd already had by the time I met you around the Sydney scene, you'd already had a bunch of years under your belt, so you were good.
Yeah. I feel like I had a pretty accelerated beginning, which was lucky, because as well, like, I think, like, if I didn't start booking things pretty quickly, I don't know if I would have kept doing it. But I think I started comedy, like, right now there's a lot of female comics, but there's still not as many as male comics.
Yeah.
But even as soon as like 7 or 8 years ago, I feel like there were way less female comics as well in Sydney.
I reckon definitely that's the case. I mean, when I started, there was less than now. Like I've been 2010, so 13, 14 years. There was less than now, but I think there's more now. But it's still, like you said, still like having. I remember when you came and did Wildfire Bar when Tommy Orr and I ran that. That was our thing. We always, you always want to make sure you've got a nice a lineup where you've got, not just because you need the audience to go, like you need to make sure you're giving plenty of spots to female comedians, but also you just want the lineup not to be all samey.
It just makes the show better.
Yeah, you need different perspectives, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but then that was the thing, is we were always trying to make sure it was a good standard too. It wasn't like we weren't trying to make it an open mic. We were trying to make it a place where people who had a few years under their belt and had a bit of experience could come and, work out, just do some stuff, get a set out if they need to. If they had new stuff they wanted to run, they could come down and do that. And that was even that was when I first realised, there are definitely less female comics, because in my mind it had got heaps better.
Yeah.
Because it had improved, like there were more female comics. But even then, when we were like, oh man, okay, we need, who can we call? Like, and I think too, one thing that happens is, because I think now good rooms are much better at making sure they've got a bit of a diverse lineup. A good like female comic like that's 4 years in is far more in demand than the male comic at that same age.
She's busy.
And so you're like, the amount of times, hey, you want a spot? Oh, sorry, doing this. Sorry, no, I need a night off. Like, I've been working. You're like, oh man, they're all working heaps.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I pretty quickly started getting like asked to do things, like because now, and probably even more so then, like I started, and then pretty quickly it was like, oh, okay, like she's fine. She's
fine.
Like, let's get her in.
Are in.
Like, yeah. So quickly,
she can do the job. Right.
Yeah.
Reliable. She'll turn up. She's funny. She can do the job.
Yeah. I'm not gonna fuck it up. Like, so pretty often I was like but it's also, I don't know. It's good and bad, because some female comics as well don't like it. Oh God, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to be controversial, but no, it is a thing. You don't want to have an all male lineup and then one brand new female comic.
Yes.
Because then if she's not as good as the rest of the lineup, then people are like, well, women suck.
I think too, sometimes you see, and it used to happen more, but because there's more female comics now, and because there's more that have been doing it longer, you see,
it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen as much. But yeah, there were times when you'd see these, like especially if it was an opportunity thing.
Yeah.
You'd see, back in the day, like men that have been doing it 12, 15 years, and a female comic who'd been on for 3, and they go, oh, she's not quite as...
Yeah.
Like, even if she did well, it's like, oh, she's not quite... It's like, no, she just hasn't got the, like... It's like comparing someone, it's like comparing me 3 years into Kitty Flanagan 20 years in.
Exactly.
I'm going to look... Like, you go to that show, you go, geez, men aren't funny.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not. And you'd be right to say
yeah. But hey, goddamn, we try. That's why we've got to keep women out of the industry.
It's
because
really
they show
cute.
us up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's not an ideal scenario for a show or whatever, but I think for me it was really good, because it kind of forces you to rise to the occasion. And, then it does make things easier when... And it makes you have more of a reason to kind of keep pushing and keep pursuing it when you do get opportunities presented to you pretty quickly. And even like what you said, like about booking gigs, how you're like, okay, well, who are we going to get? You got to message people and ask people. Like it's good and bad for me, because like I'm like lazy, and like I'm doing gigs all the time, and people are asking me to do them. But then I speak to some male comics, and they're like, I've never been asked to do a gig in my life. I'm hitting people up, and I'm like, what? You have to message people? I just get people messaging me asking me to do the gig.
I remember.
So it sucks.
I remember a typical, like I message now.
Yeah, I've been doing it more now, because especially I was away for a bit, or like whenever I drop the ball on like open mics and you just do it, you're busy for a while, then there's 100 new rooms every week or something. And then I've got to ask around and be like, who's this guy? Who's the guy running this room? And yeah, I do a bit of legwork.
Yeah, I'm lucky in that I can, like I'll message to ask to get on different, like if it's an open mic, if it's an unpaid spot, but I generally don't, for paid work, I've tipped over that point at the moment where I'm able to get by without actually having to hustle, like, hit every room runner up every week. It's more... Yeah. Now you know them, and they can go, oh, when do you want to come back, or when? Yeah. So but there's a tipping point where that happens. For sure. I think for a lot of people, and maybe it is probably just earlier if you're good and female. Yeah. Unfortunately, but that'll change as more females get in and we even this industry out.
Exactly. I mean, that's the hope, that this gets as brutal and hard and terrible. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not easier, but it is like if you're a smaller demographic, things happen. And I'm very lucky. I think I'm very lucky for everything I've ever gotten. And it's very nice.
That's another thing I'm sort of big on too at the moment with the like, you acknowledge luck, like, because luck plays a part in all this stuff, just timing about the right comic, the right sensibility, the right time that meets the right opportunity is always the thing. But then there's the work. There's also you've got to be ready and you've got to put the work in to take advantage of the luck.
Yeah, I think I always think about when I was like 18, I auditioned for NIDA, the acting school, didn't get in. But I think in the audition, because so many people audition for NIDA and they like give you like a talking to, which is really good of them to do. But they sit you down at the beginning and they were like, okay, like just so you know, this is a crazy thing that you're choosing to pursue. You shouldn't be an actor, okay? So if you could not do this, you shouldn't do this because you probably can't and you're probably not going to do it. But they said... and
what a motivational speech.
I know. But I wish I'd listened more. Like I really wish I'd gotten my teaching degree or something, a chartered accountancy or it's really ridiculous. If you're thinking of doing this, don't do it. But they said there's like if you think of like a pyramid or like a triangle and the 3 points, and then to make it or something, you need to have at least 2 of these things. And even if you have 2, you might still not make it. But it's like one of the points is like be really, really exceptionally, undeniably good. The second one, and talented and naturally gifted at this. And then the second one is like work really, really harder than anyone else. And then the third one is be incredibly lucky. So it's like you either need to be like incredibly talented and lucky or like work really hard and be really good. But you need to have like at least 2 of those things to like even have a chance.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then when you look at that, and most people get into this because they don't want a real job. It's an interesting... That's such a good, though, especially to, like, at 18, hearing that coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes... I think I would have loved in high school or whatever, people just explaining, one, you don't... Because I'm obviously a fair bit older than you. You don't have to... There was still a bit of an idea that people would just go to uni or whatever, get a job and do that career for the rest of their life. Where I mean, and it was changing a bit, but that this idea that you don't at 18 have to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life because you won't know.
You won't, and in fact, it's insane if you do know. And if you know, you probably don't actually know.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people that just go, I've always wanted to be a doctor or whatever. Yeah. But it has to be that field where there's always the next thing that you can keep striving for, I would have thought. But I don't know. Like I often look at I look at some jobs that I'm like, I wish I could have done that, but I know I wouldn't have been happy. Like I often fantasize about if I'd got a trade.
Oh, me too. I've been thinking about getting a trade recently.
Well, what trade would you go?
I think probably electrician.
Yeah, I see you as an electrician.
That's me being practical and also, pursuing things. But like in my dream life, like I would like make beautiful and artisanal furniture or something. But that is as unreliable as like having to be a comedian or something. Like I think if I was going to get a trade, I'd be like, I'd want to get a trade that I can like do a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So electrician. I think for me, it'd be butcher.
Oh, yeah. I see that for you.
Yeah.
As a vegetarian, my nightmare job.
Oh, really?
I
didn't know you're a vegetarian.
I can't even walk past the butchers. Like the smell. I'm like a super smeller and like
really?
Super taster. Like there's just, I can't. I'm very...
Vegetarianism, ethical or partly just you never liked meat either?
Yeah, a bit both.
Well, you live in the inner west, so if anyone asks, it's ethical.
Yeah.
It's I miss meat, but I can't do it.
I know. It's like ethical in my tights I bought from Amazon and the chocolate I ate earlier and the eggs and the Apple Watch and nothing is ethical under capitalism. Anyway, but no, I was just always
you do live in the inner west.
Yeah. Been there for a while,
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so you didn't, like, you're not a big meat person anyway, and then
it's just, as a kid, I was always on and off vegetarian, just a fussy eater.
Yeah.
And then I just made the, like, total, I'm not going to eat it probably like 15 years ago now or something, 10,
wow.
A long time. I've eaten some fish though recently and I don't love it, but I think it's probably good for my brain and I need all the help I can get there, I think.
There's some stuff that's, I mean, I don't know, 100%, and I'm sure there'll be people listening to this on the internet who'll just blow up at what I'm about to say. But I feel like there's some stuff that is just naturally good for you, like fish or like certain lean meats that are because of just because of how we evolved.
Well, yeah, and but there is like you can if you're fully vegan, which like I have friends who are very vegan, you can get everything you need.
Yeah, 100%.
But you need to also like take this special omega-3 supplement made from algae and stuff, and I just can't. I can't do that.
It also has to be like to
like
do
work.
it properly. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of it's a lot of preparation in everyday life.
And you've got to know about all this. And like I know a lot of stuff about food, but like I know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I'll be honest, I really love meat.
If you love it, if it makes you happy, that's like I have had periods of time where I was like, no, I really want to be vegan. Like when like the ethics of it were getting to me more, which I think the past few years I feel like the world is going crazy, but also I've just gotten older. I've just gotten tireder, and like I just can't anymore. Like there's enough going on that I can just kind of shut down. It's a bad thing to say, but I just stop reading the news at some point, and I got to eat chocolate.
I don't think it's a bad thing to say, but that's the thing. Chocolate, like there's like you said, there's downsides to everything. You didn't design the world.
I didn't design the world.
So you can only live in it as best you can. This I realised, this fantasy of, especially when I was younger, this whole idea of environmentalism meant you made no impact.
Yeah.
And there's just no way.
And you see that these people, like there's that girl who like has 4 years of her rubbish in like a mason jar because she lives zero waste and she's never used a straw in her life or something. Have you seen these people?
No.
Yeah, they don't consume any plastic, and then they go to the farmers markets and bring their own jar to buy their lentils in, and like I don't even have a job right now, and I can't imagine, like if that was my full-time job I still couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's making your whole life about that one thing.
Yeah.
Which feels very limiting. But also, I think it's like anything. Like the amount of times you look at a job like where it's all encompassing. Like you know what I mean? Like you see, like I could never. Growing up, I remember. Growing up, we went to Catholic school and stuff as primary school. We always went to church on Sundays and that. And I remember looking at the priest, and there were days when I'd go, if you didn't care about wanting to have a family and start a relationship, that's a very, like it's a very sure life in that, everything's, you've got a book, you've got this book, you've got this code of ethics that set everything out for you. And so you can be very sure, like it's a very secure life in that way. Like your existence is quite, okay, I know what I'm doing. There's not the uncertainty that sometimes when you're like, without that, you'd like, oh man, like, cause like I look at people that are so sure about their philosophy in life, and I'm like, oh, there must be, like, even if it looks like hard work, it must be nice to be that sure about something.
Oh yeah, like, I know. I this is hitting me very hard. Yeah, I agree completely, and I think because my brother is a minister, so he's Anglican, so he is married and has kids, but he's Christian and a minister and like a religious person, and I'm not. But like, are you kidding? Like, of course that would be awesome to like have a doctrine that you believe in and live by. And I'm very envious of people who have that. And even if I think it just depends on the person. Like me and my brother were very similar people. And like he found that philosophy to sort of cling on to, and for it, he is like much more at peace as a person than me.
That's where because for all the criticism, religion and everything, especially organized religion gets,
yada abuse,
but like for the most part, like you meet the people who are actually religious and involved, and you're just like, oh no, these are just nice people.
If you can do it, if I could believe in it, like, because you can't just go along and do it if you're not into it. And like, but are you kidding? Like, of course it would be awesome. They had a baby recently, and like they just have a community behind them, and so they have like a roster of babysitters if they want. They have people coming around walking their dog for them and helping them out. Someone to babysit their toddler while this and that. Like at the end of the day, it's just a community for them to have. And it's like, yeah, then they've also got to like do all this crazy God stuff, but like it just would be nice.
Yeah, well, when you compare that to the community that you and I are part of, the comedy community, it does it does seem nice.
I've been thinking about that because I that's what I've been thinking a lot about. Like I think people. I mean, this is getting very philosophical, but
that's
it's
good.
just what's been on my mind. But like everyone humanly does crave community, and more now we are like not in them, or we are seeking them out online in the form of like insane online groups, and like what you said about Twitter, fighting with people on Twitter, like that's people seeking community to rally against something, you know, and it's not expressed very nicely. But I was just like at an open mic, and I like look around and I like see the same like comedian guy that I've seen 3 times that week, who I like, but is just a guy. And I was like, oh, this guy. And I was like, you've known this guy for 5 years. You see this guy multiple times a week. You know, like, and I was like, this is my community. This polyamorous comedian is my community, and I have to come to terms with that.
Well, I get to, like, one of the things that I've been thinking on this topic about recently is I find, like I said to my wife, I find Mondays. So Mondays, because we work weekends, a lot of Sundays I end up working, or I do a little bit of radio over at SEN, and that's on a Sunday usually. And so Monday is like, I'm take the day off.
Nice.
But that's the day my family, everyone's out of the house. So I said to her, because I always like Sunday night I get home and I'm like, oh, I'm in a good mood. I have a beer, watch something on TV, and I'm like, I'm in a good mood, and then I wake up Monday feeling like a piece of shit because I'm not working, everyone else is. And it doesn't feel, and then I find like the start of the week harder to get into. And the thing I think I'm missing most is, up until recently, I've always had like when I was working at Fox, you're working with people, you're going in, you had that interaction with people on a regular basis where I feel like now I'm actually trying now to make more of a conscious effort to structure my a week a bit more, that I'm just say, hey, do you want to other comedians, do you want to grab lunch and do some writing or something like that, like. And then when I notice mates of mine are from interstate, like comedians that are visiting, I'm like, I've started actually seeing it, just going, okay, this person's in town this week, what days you got free for lunch, and actually make it all right to make the social party, because that is, like, you're 100% right, that is our work community.
Yeah, it is. And then it's also like just essential to human happiness and health, probably.
Yeah.
To not be like an untethered person alone wandering around a Westfield every second day, which is what I do. But like making like lunch appointments to write and things like that is good. And I need to have more structure in my week. I really need to set it up. But it's hard to stick to, isn't it? Because
I'm the same. I think that's the hardest thing that I think a lot of people struggle with when they're first doing comedy full time, is the lack of structure, and it can be really self-destructive if you're not careful.
What's your plan for the day?
My plan most days is I try and get up. Lately, because it's winter, I've been doing a bit like get up, have a coffee, and like read a bit of news. Like, which by read news, I get 2 emails from like news sites that and I just read those. Basically, I don't read anywhere near as much as I used to, which I think also I need to read a bit just to get, because it's hard, because you want to read enough about the world, what's going on, that you feel a bit connected to everything, but not so much that you feel overwhelmed by you're taking the whole world in. Yeah,
you can't. That was like, when I did some work on, I did some work on a few shows like over the years, like that are kind of current affairs comedy, that kind of genre. And they're the kind of shows where like you have to read all the news that week and know what was going on that week. And then there was another show I did where I had to like prepare like a research brief on like a climate activist or something. So I had to like learn all about this climate activist and what he was doing and this and that. And then like I just learned too much about climate change. And now I'm like, I was like, do you know if we stopped digging up coal today and we just burnt what we had, the world is still kind of fucked. And we're not stopped. Like,
What
so
a happy.
I didn't want to know that.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
It's, that's that thing. Well, also, there's something about, like, people go, oh, you wake up, you got to know about this stuff. But then it's like, oh, yeah, but I also have no power to change that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But then...
But I don't own a coal company.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can.
I'm not in charge of a large industrial nation that burns a lot of coal.
I'm not digging it up,
Yeah.
you know? I'm just writing and voting in the right directions when I can, but, like, beyond that... But it's probably better to read good news that's been curated into an email rather than, like, look at Twitter and see, you know, who we're attacking today.
That's what I like about these newsletters is it'll have the one, like, 2 or 3 things reasonable, like, you know, a couple of paragraphs on them so you get the full thing. And then below it's just other stories that are going on, and there's a link there you can click on them if you want the whole story, but it's like a 3-line summary of them.
Yeah, that's
so you're
enough
like, this is going, and you just buy in or don't. Like, I don't like that. And then I'll try and do a bit of work first thing in the morning, but I feel I'm better when I go for a run straight away, which I try and do, but lately because it's been colder, it's so easy to put off till a bit later. But yeah, I'm trying out the door, go for a run.
Yeah.
And then home and just sort of working on. I've started making a list in my phone every sort of week. I'll have a note in my phone of each day of the week, and I work out what I need to do that week, and then I'll just divide it up into days. Because or the other thing I feel is if I'm feeling unproductive or I'm feeling like a bit not focused, trying to pick randomly which thing I need to do and just do it is no good. Whereas I go, no, this is okay. It's Tuesday. Today's the day I, go through this.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because there's always 10 things that I'm kind of wanting to work on, or also just general, like, why don't you look at your stand-up material, like, in a context that isn't, like, literally sitting at the gig right before you go on, hypothetically.
There's nothing like the pressure of that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, writing. I can't tell you the amount of bits I've written in the car before the gig.
Yeah.
Just like, and that's not like a paid gig or whatever, but that's when you're going, like, I'll book in and I'll book a bunch of spots where I'm going to work on new material, and then on the day I'm like, new material. I was supposed to write new material.
I was supposed to do that.
And then you're trying to force yourself into it, which is now I'm working on things a bit. I'm taking a bit more long-term view of things and just going, okay, because the unstructured sort of nature of it is less productive for me than going, okay, I'm going to work on these bits, and it doesn't always matter which bit I'm working on. Like if I just go today, I'm got to do some time on new stuff. I go through the notes on my phone, whichever one jumps out at me of the little ideas I've written down, then I try and work on those. But it's not as easy as you'd think it would be, like to just have that structure. Yeah, I know. And then if you don't organize the time, then you end up not doing anything. Or like I'm decent with like admin, like, because it's easier to me to I hate the admin.
I don't like it, but it's if I'm faced with the idea of like a nebulous goal to write a world-changing television pilot, or I could just answer this email. Like, I'm going to answer the email. That's what I've found too. Is when I write the list, this is something I've learned about writing my little lists of things to do, is if it's a general thing, like I just write on it new stuff, doesn't get done. It's not going to happen.
If I write work on this for this, like if I give everything a purpose,
break it up,
then or do something really specific, like like at the moment I'm trying to I've just realized, like today I've just got in and had a bit of a look at my YouTube channel, and I need to give this a bit of a actual effort rather than just uploading stuff and hoping someone finds it. Like, I don't know what the secret is to all that stuff, but
I think it's just consistency and quality and consistency, but it is it does make me really physically want to scream the thought of doing that.
The thing, I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you seem to have the same motivation as me with a lot of this stuff, is I want to do all this stuff so that I can
get people to come along and watch me perform live, so I
Yeah.
get to keep performing live. That's the actual.
Because nothing's better than it live, and that's what people, because comedy and stand-up is thankfully like getting a bigger following, I think, more and more, and like it has a new audience in a lot of young people because of all of these online clips and stuff like that. But you look at a stand-up clip on your phone and you could be watching like the best comic ever of the best joke ever, and you might laugh a little bit out. You might go
Yes.
And then if you're live in a room, like I've been watching comics and I've been like sick, like from laughing, because there's no comparison to the energy of live performance.
That's it. It's something that happens in the room, and there's something about that thing where, like you said earlier, where you go home and it's like, if a tree fell in the wood, like would anyone even? But there's something magic about that time. It's an experience that you get to have with, however many people are in that room. You all had the same experience where you came together for this. God, it sounds wanky when I describe it.
Yeah,
like
but
this.
it's so cool, and like there's so many comedy fans who I think just only watch it online, and they only watch big American comics or something, and then they don't ever go to like a club and go just watch a live show of a bunch of people that you've never heard of. And sometimes it will be really bad, but sometimes it'll be really good. But even if it's really bad, like that's such a interesting thing to do.
Yeah, it's still kind of fun. Like and like you can be, if you don't want to go to a really bad one, there are ways to insulate yourself from that. Pick the places that are paying the axe.
Yeah.
Because they know what they're doing. They know they've done the hard work of going to the shitty open mics, you'd hope, to find the ones that are working. So yeah, I don't know, like I just love the live thing, which I'm just actually, I think it'll go on sale before this comes out. I've just actually booked in. I'm doing my first solo at the Sydney Comedy Store the start of November, I believe.
Yeah, and that's a place where the show's always going to be good.
That is, and then I'm also doing, before that I'm doing Brisbane and Newcastle, and it's given me that thing where I'm like, I'm really excited about this little, like, it's not like call it a tour or whatever, but it's not really.
That's
like,
so
it's
nice.
Three different places, but I'm so like when I sat down with Karen here, who helps me at A-List, and she just went, I think we could do this, and then like I'm like, it felt so grown up and like, oh, you know what, I can do this. But then 2 days later, I wake up and I'm like, am I kidding myself? Who wants to come see me? But it's riding that wave of of insecurity and excitement that it's going to be good. But yeah, it's just, I think too, like ticking off all the little goals along the way and knowing what to be excited about now, which after a bit of time and a bit of perspective is it's something that just so I'm really excited about doing that.
It's so nice to be excited as well, like about that, because like I have toured a bit as well, and like it is really cool and exciting to like go to Brisbane and do shows and stuff. But then like, so I did Melbourne like last year, and it's hard, like, because I am someone who I am so good and I'm like, no, we're doing good, but Melbourne can be so hard. It's like you do 26 shows in a month.
Yep.
It's every night. And for the whole like first 3 weeks of the festival, I was like, the show's going really well, people are coming and they're having a good time, and that's all I could want. And then you just, by the end of it, like I was so exhausted that I was like, this is insane, what's going on? Like, because it's also, it is crazy to do 26 shows in a month. And like, I have some people who want to come, but like, there's no demand for me to do shows every night, but
that's the hard
thing. So you
thing
feel insane.
Too,
and I went insane.
Yeah. Oh man. I think I was there the same year. I did the full month.
And I remember.
It was a tough year because it was just coming out of COVID.
It was, yeah.
And I said this to Dan Connell when I was talking to him. Melbourne had that feel that year of like a rescue puppy. Like they wanted to feel so, but they were just still cautious.
They were just weird, and like, and you feel crazy going night after night, being like we were saying before, you have to keep selling it, and you have to sell it for that long to be like, show's on again tonight, guys. Like, it's on, and tomorrow, guys, come on back. The show's on again. Like,
and it's taken me all this time to realize that it's actually part of the job to learn to sell what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's something that I still find hard. Like, to say, hey, like, you know, come along. Now, even now, like, I was talking to someone about this recently. I finally, like, I can walk away from a gig now going, you know what, I do have a product that's worth selling. Like, I feel like you come along, like, most people come along, they're going to walk away having had a good time, which is the job. So now I've finally got to that, and I kind of wish, you know, you see these people that are really good at the marketing side from a real early stage. I kind of wish I just had a bit more of that now, but I don't know. Like, you got to do it the way you do it. But because I realized I had this. You want to talk weird philosophical realizations? I had a realization today that I find it really hard to be proud of anything I do.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm proud of my family, proud of my kids, proud of like all that sort of stuff. But the actual, like, and I suppose I am sort of proud of it, but it's hard to be like, yeah, I'm really good at this. You should come see my show. It's really good.
I think that's a very, I think it's an Australian thing culturally. And it's probably also, it's a very like Australian male of your age thing, you know, like, because it is like, it's so ostentatious, and it does feel like American to be like, yeah, I'm fucking good at my job, fuck you guys. Like, no Australian is doing that, where like you could be like a master painter and you'd be like, yeah, it's all right, you know, but you're not going to sell a show on that, are you?
No. And that's the thing too, is like, it took me ages to realise, like, people would come see my show and they'd talk to me afterwards, oh, that was great. And I wouldn't be happy with how I'd done stuff. And not even realising that the mistakes I'd made in my head, because
they don't even know.
They had no idea. And it took me ages to stop downselling my performance to people after, when they were trying to just give me a compliment, instead of going, man, nah, I don't know, I just wasn't on. It's like, they think you're good. Don't second guess them.
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, the other night was better, you know. Then they'll be like, oh, I had a good time tonight. So like, what do you mean? Like,
why are you downgrading my experience for your own insecurity, dude? Like, that's But I mean, I'm trying to be positive now. I'm trying to get good at all the other stuff, but yeah. So are you touring again? Are you doing the festivals? What do you got in the works, mate?
I'm doing Sydney Fringe Comedy, which is coming up at the end of September.
And your show is called?
It's called Just a Work in Progress,
nice.
Which is what it is. And then I think I'm booked that in, because if you book the show, you have to make the show, and then you have to do the show. This is why I like comedy, because it's like what we said. It's like, I'm going to do new material. I book this gig, and then the gig, you do have to go do that.
You know how I describe it is, it's like always having a bit of homework to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I've set myself ironic. An assignment.
Which is ironic, because most comedians didn't like doing homework, but that's basically 90% of the job is the homework you've set yourself.
And it's the only way it's going to get done.
Oh, 100%.
Is if I have, you know, a bunch of people standing in front of me waiting for me to do it. And so, I'm doing Fringe. And then I think from there is that, I'm going to do this show and then kind of see if I want to tour next year.
Yep.
Because, I did, I mean, and we don't probably even have time to talk about it much, but I did like a TV show filming thing earlier this year. And
nice. What'd you do?
Yeah, it's, it's not out yet. It's like a show, it's an overseas show, I don't know what.
Are you allowed to talk about it yet?
I am, but like it's on IMDb or whatever, so I can talk about it, right? I should read my contract. Yeah. But anyway, I have a show that might be coming out. It should be coming out early next year, but it's a bit uncertain with the strikes.
Let's do a deal. When it's coming out, we know it's coming out. Come back and we're just going to talk about the whole experience. Yeah. But that's exciting. That's great.
Yeah. So that should be coming out next year, and I don't know when. So I want to be able to go over to LA when that comes out and stuff, and so I don't want to do this podcast and then go to LA. Yeah,
and then
of course.
they'll be like, "Geez, she got the Barnett bump." So, and you've also got your own podcast.
I do. It's called Big Natural Talents. Yeah. Listen to it wherever you get your podcasts.
You do that with Conchetta?
With Conchetta Caristo, yeah. So she's great. She's very funny.
Yeah. So are you. Don't do
and
the
me, yes,
pushing off.
Yes, but it's a great dynamic. She's sees the world with the most amazing rose-colored glasses.
She's she is. I find it hard to hang out with Conchetta and not come away in a better mood.
Yeah.
Like, just everything's like...
It's like, I was describing it. We went to Movie World once with Cam James as well. And it's like how having kids makes Christmas fun again.
Yes. Exactly. I did a run of the Sydney Comedy Festival tour thing with her and Connor Burns and Annie Boyle. And... Connor and I spent most of the time just pointing things out to Conchetta to watch her react.
Yeah.
Because she
loves it.
It's like being on tour with a fully grown newborn. Like, just everything's new and exciting. It's just
very good.
An amazing way to experience the world.
It's nice. And it teaches me a thing or two because I am often the very opposite way.
Yeah, you bring the philosophical. And, you know we dug up too much coal.
Oh, but you know what I mean. Even if we stop digging up the coal right now, Conchetta, it's all over.
Oh well, so people can listen to that. Where else can they find you? Because we are almost at time.
I'm on Instagram at Lauren Y. Bonner, and I think that's my handle across like Instagram, Twitter. I have TikTok. I'm not a crazy TikToker, but there's some stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm dipping a toe into the TikTok world. It's too, my problem with TikTok.
Yeah.
Is I find it's too aggressive. Like in that you open it up and the sound's already on. Yeah,
it's like bang, 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 but if you let that algorithm like learn a thing or two about you, like it'll get you like nothing else, like it's so once it knows what you want to see, like it's the most gripping content
that's what I worry about too.
Don't because you don't want to be looking. It's like it's cringy to be lying there and like looking at TikToks, and I feel myself doing it sometimes, and I'm like, get off this.
Yeah, I think that's my concern with all this is like I'm noticing myself now just watching like a movie or something at home. If there's just a slight lull, you just pick your phone up, and I'm like, it's a weird unconscious reaction to do it, and it's just not good.
I absolutely need like 2 screens all the time. Like I'm always on my phone while I'm watching something, and it's so bad. I need to stop.
I've had to instigate that rule with my kids, is like 1 screen at a time.
That's
like,
a great
I can't
rule.
Get screens out of their lives, but I'm trying to just get them 1 screen at a time. One screen at a time, boys.
That is good.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, they might grow up to be maniacs, but you do your best.
Yeah. You never know.
Well, mate, thank you so much. Anything else you want to plug before we go?
No, not really. Listen to the podcast. If you're in Sydney, come to the show at Fringe. And
do you want to drop the name of the TV show so people?
Oh yeah. I mean, the show. I mean, hopefully it's out next year. It's called While You Were Breeding. And
While You Were Breeding.
Yeah, and I play an Australian character. Thank God for that. And I think it'll be pretty fun, but I haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen it at all because they don't let you see it. So maybe I'm really bad at acting.
No, I guarantee you're not.
We'll see.
No, you proved Nida wrong. She's got more than 2 of those things in the triangle. She's got all 3. Lauren, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.